People are finally talking about you, chosen one, and your detractors are mistaken. You are now benefiting from the chatter that used to work against you. Someone is now coming to the realization that you were the actual thing all along, even if they believed every twisted lie. All around you is the energy of 10 and 911, divine correction, enlightenment, and alignment. Every untruth that has been spread about you is coming to light in real time. For the first time, someone who previously vowed you were the bad guy is reliving everything and realizing the truth. They feel ashamed and even troubled by how readily they were duped. The same people who made fun of you are suddenly standing up for you. Now that the murmurs have changed, just appreciation is being spoken. It's heavenly exposure. There was nothing you needed to prove. The hard lifting was done for you by truth. You didn't just turn your back on that harmful individual when you cut them off. You got away. You left before total devastation might occur. They were slain by it. The rejection was too much for their ego to handle. The fact that you saw through the games was too much for their pride to bear. Thus, a whole campaign of character assassination was started with the goal of making sure that everyone regarded you as the villain, as they should. They were portrayed as the protagonist and you as the adversary in stories, recollections, and rewritten history. Every argument became your fault. Every issue turned into your poison. The show was compelling, and every limit you established was evidence of your harshness. It was a flawless victim role. To elicit pity, the appropriate phrases were used. People were led astray, and that third party took it all in. Heard about how awful you were, how you harmed them, how you deceived them, and how you're just plain hard to work with. They heard it so often that they believed it to be true. If your name had been mentioned, they could have even protected that poisonous person against you. Because you were the antagonist in this tale, as far as everyone knew. However, poisonous individuals never remember this. Patterns recur. Behaviors come back. Eventually, masks come off, and the third person is now beginning to see things. Little things initially, the way this individual speaks about other people, the twisting of circumstances, the victim role that is performed in every confrontation. Little red signals that at first glance seem to be nothing are now piling together to form a picture. And that image seems uncannily similar. That individual's phone was examined by the third party. Perhaps messages were discovered. Perhaps discussions were found that conveyed an entirely different narrative than what had been reported. Perhaps they saw firsthand what was really going on while the victim was being played. And in a manner that is both terrible and illuminating, everything began to make sense. All of the statements made about you are true descriptions of themselves. All charges were confessions. The manipulator calls you domineering, the liar calls you dishonest, and the cheater calls you unfaithful. All of it was projection. They were lying about it the whole time, and no one has discovered it yet. This is the behavior of narcissistic individuals. This emotional manipulation is classic. You're projected with whatever darkness is inside you. Any wrongdoing that is really committed is blamed on you. It's similar to supposing that the image of yourself in a mirror is you. And it worked for a time. People believe for a time, but not forever. Never forever. Now, that third party is making connections. You were allegedly out doing something nefarious that night. In fact, that individual was doing it. You were allegedly playing games at the time. They were engaging in literal games. That tale of your abuse of others. Even this individual who was standing here and seeing the truth was being utilized. Each and every charge was a mirror reflecting their actual nature. Do you recall the time you attempted to assist that individual? When did you share your knowledge? You gave them lessons about setting limits, valuing oneself, seeing warning signs, and refusing to put up with disrespect. Your goal was to empower. You were giving away knowledge that made learning painful. And what took place? That knowledge was corrupted. Healing-oriented empowerment became an excuse for brutality. Keeping the peace turned into a justification for harming others without taking responsibility. Acknowledge that narcissistic entitlement has corrupted your value. You were then held accountable when their actions caught up with them. They said you trained them to be poisonous. It's similar to teaching someone how to defend themselves and then seeing them attack defenseless others with it. That's basically what occurred when they were caught pointing at you and accusing you of teaching violence. You provided protective tools. Those implements became into weapons. It's not your fault. That depends on corruption, decisions, and character. You're capable of owning up to your faults. It's uncommon to be able to look back on the past and say, yeah, I was wrong there. I've grown since then. Toxic individuals heard your responsibility and saw an opportunity, but most people protect every aspect of themselves. Confessions from you were gathered like ammo. When you acknowledged that you had previously struggled with something, it was put away. Then it was removed when the necessity for explanation for lying about you arose. Individuals were informed or even acknowledged that they were hazardous. Your development turned into proof against you. Your candor turned into a weapon. Your weakness turned into evidence of the evil. For this reason, you need to be cautious about who you tell the truth to. Not everyone is able to deal with openness without using it as a weapon. All of this was heard by that third person, who saw it as evidence that you were poisonous and that you had made errors in the past. However, I've come to the important realization that acknowledging previous errors does not equate to being poisonous in the present. Dysfunction is not the same as growth. Guilt is not the same as accountability. And the most honest person is the one who is able to acknowledge their shortcomings. This third party is now keeping a careful eye on things and seeing an unmistakable trend, seeing that poisonous individuals' tendency to discuss everyone, not just you. Every single ex is insane. All ex-friends are envious. The issue is every individual who left. Someone else is always to blame. Always. There's just a never-ending cycle of victimization and blame. Never any responsibility or introspection. And a thought occurs to this third person. If everyone else is said to be the issue, it's possible that nobody else is the issue. Perhaps the thing that unites them is they're in front of them. Perhaps the one accusing everyone of being poisonous is really the toxic one. Perhaps the one who always cries victim is the one who creates the circumstances. Your words are now remembered. Things that you attempted to caution about. Not right away. Perhaps you had no intention of undermining anything. When questioned, you just answered honestly. That individual believed you were hateful when you said something like, "Be careful. I've seen questionable things happen. I assumed you were envious. You're being petty, I thought." However, comprehension is already dawning. You weren't hateful. You were telling the truth. You were attempting to protect them from your ordeal. Because you didn't want to see someone else suffer, even if that person had harmed you, if there had been falsehood said about you, and if there had been efforts to damage your reputation. You are the kind of person that does it. That's one energy that was selected. You don't have to wish someone harm, even if you're done with them. You may be kind, and yet protect yourself. That intricacy is too much for most individuals to handle. Promote this video to assist more selected people become aware of this if these words made you think. They were intimidated on a cellular level by something in your core. You possess an indisputable glow. You have talents that make you attractive and a presence that naturally attracts others. It was felt too. It was observed, and they were frightened. Because darkness is revealed by light. Simply by being genuine and shining organically, you expose their darkness. You made no attempt to appear. You weren't in a competition. All you were doing was being yourself. And it in itself made them feel insignificant, intimidated, and as like they needed to lower their brightness in order to feel good about themselves. Thus, a campaign was started, rumors proliferated, and falsehoods increased. It took a lot of effort over time to persuade everyone that your compassion was deception, your sweetness was a show, and your light was artificial. Because perhaps insufficiency would not seem as painful if your reputation might be damaged. Perhaps there wouldn't sense as much menace. Perhaps you wouldn't have to worry about losing anything genuine when you went to sleep at night. But it is impossible to fake authenticity. True goodness cannot be produced. It is impossible to replicate the kind of energy that results from genuine inner labor. For a while, people may accept falsehoods, but ultimately, they will engage with you. You are seen in action. When others monitor your movements, the dissonance becomes unbearable. A decision has to be taken since the falsehoods don't fit reality. Have faith in the story that was told or in what is happening. A growing number of individuals are opting to trust their own eyes. The story is now being questioned by more individuals. As more people see through the smoke, the poisonous person's reputation quickly erodes. The house of cards is starting to fall apart. Everyone who once believed is beginning to doubt everything as the foundation of falsehoods crumbles. That third person is now conversing with others, comparing notes, and learning that everyone's tales are similar. Red flags were visible to everybody. Everyone was unsure. However, that poisonous individual made asking questions sound like betrayal, so no one wanted to speak out. But the dam is bursting. Your name is being cleared in real time as the truth comes pouring forth. You were developing as rumors were circulating. You were recuperating while falsehoods were being said. You were changing while they were trying to destroy you. People thought you had failed throughout that season. You withdrew, and many assumed you were giving up. You became silent and were presumed to be cowering in embarrassment. You were defeated and backed off. It was thought that they were running away. However, you weren't engaging in any of those activities. It was a time of wonderful relaxation for you. Your skin was becoming aged. In the shadows, where no one could see, you were creating something new. When nothing made sense, you were putting your confidence in a process. You were exhibiting trust when the situation demanded it. Even if everyone else didn't believe in you, you did. And now you're coming out stronger, more powerful, more aligned, and different. People are confused because there was a genuine perception that you were depressed. Sincere belief that you were disintegrating. Completely sure you couldn't manage life. However, it wasn't realized that falling apart might sometimes lead to properly reassembling. Until the butterfly emerges, the cocoon might sometimes resemble a tomb. You are now being discussed by others. There are several discussions going on, and the rumors have changed. What is being stated isn't what your enemies wanted to hear, and the story has completely changed. People are talking about how you look wonderful, how you're doing, and how everyone was incorrect. You've always been referred to be the real thing, sincere. Now, everybody who comes near you is considered fortunate. It's possible that someone is the poisonous person who talks to someone else about making mistakes, losing a gift, listening to the wrong people, and losing a chance with you. They want you back. We demand an apology. We want to put things right. Here's the reality, however. Selected one. An apology is insufficient. Regret is insufficient. Because it shouldn't have taken this long, recognition is insufficient. It shouldn't have taken burning to prove your authenticity. Believing your truth shouldn't have required going through the same suffering you did. Now the truth is getting out. The murmurs are evolving. Lies are being compared by those who believe them. Recognizing that everyone had been taught falsehoods. All of them were manipulated. Everyone toyed with the victim. The common thread is you. It was you who got away early. The first person to see through it was you. When it counted most, you were the one who defended yourself. There's another stuff going on. Lies are catching up with that poisonous individual, which is why they are spinning. Patterns are revealed. The mask is irreparably shattered. And now, everyone can see them for who they really are. They are now creating the drama you allegedly generated everywhere. They are now causing the dispute you allegedly started with everyone. The poison that was purportedly yours is leaking out of them in ways that are no longer concealable. And everybody can see that you were the only one who remained truthful throughout. You weren't being challenging. They were bounding you. It wasn't that you were chilly. They were protecting you. It wasn't you who was cruel. You were telling the truth. In reality, every flaw in a quality is its strength. In reality, every trait that is criticized is something that others are envious of in you. Now that third person is completely awake. Everything is visible. Everything is known, and action is being taken. They are putting distance between themselves and that terrible individual. What was found is being shared with others, turning become the thing that individual was most afraid of. A truth bearer, someone who can verify all of your experiences. Someone who, without you saying a word, affirms your truth. That poisonous individual has to learn a very important lesson. And this is the lesson. The wrong voices were believed. The wrong individuals were heard. Bad counsel, tainted judgment. Perhaps someone who taught that everyone is out to get you was a relationship coach on the internet. Perhaps paranoia was fueled by pals. Perhaps the upbringing instilled a distrust of sincere individuals. In any case, incorrect instruction took place. It happened because you were misled. You were supposed to be a teacher, not a partner or a buddy as you desired. Your existence in that life was intended to demonstrate an other, superior method of functioning, one that operates from truth rather than deceit, from love rather than fear, and from authenticity rather than manipulation. And now, people are sitting in the repercussions of their decisions, feeling what it's like to be played, controlled, and lied about is occurring. Because whomever is dealing with them right now is most likely doing to them what you did to them. That is the way karma works, as a mirror reflecting what was released into the world, not as a kind of retribution. And perhaps, just perhaps, it's finally becoming clear. Perhaps people are now realizing that you weren't the issue. The answer that was turned down was you. You were not the bad guy. Undeservedly, you were the hero. The poisonous one wasn't you. Because healing requires responsibility, you were the healer who was pushed aside. That wasn't prepared for confrontation. This is where we are, then. The murmurs that sparked this discussion have turned into statements. No longer are people just challenging the falsehoods. There is active rejection taking place. Your enemies aren't the only people who have doubts. There's a cutting off. Not only are people perceiving the truth, but it is also being disseminated. That outsider who found the truth and didn't keep it to themselves. Discussions are taking place. Genuine discussions with those who knew you both. And the results are startling. Everybody has a role to play. Something that didn't add up was visible to everybody. There were times when everyone questioned the tales told by that nasty individual. One individual recalls how tales changed over time, how specifics changed according on who was listening, and how what had occurred in the past eventually changed into something entirely different. Someone other remembers instances in which words and deeds did not correspond. When people professed to desire peace but continued stirring up trouble, and when sadness was expressed but they were already moving on to someone else. It is becoming apparent that everyone was manipulated in the same manner. The only person who really understood was the one who informed everyone they were unique. The only person you could trust with the truth. That poisonous individual created little islands of believers who had never compared notes before by making everyone feel like confidants while really manipulating them against one another. You have to realize that something else is going on. Massive changes are occurring in the energy surrounding you. People who formerly shunned you due to what they heard are now interested. Those who stayed away are suddenly paying careful attention. The contrary is now true for those who thought you were trouble. Additionally, this change is opening doors you never would have imagined. Someone who previously refused to collaborate with you is now changing their mind. Someone is getting in touch with you again after passing on a connection. When someone chooses someone else over you, they're coming to the realization that they made a mistake. Doors that were closed due to false information are now reopening. Here's the problem, however. You've changed since you used to stand at those doors. You've matured. You've changed. You've changed. Therefore, there's no longer any urgency for these possibilities when they reoccur. There's no gratitude that someone at last recognizes your value. Because you learned something important throughout your transition season. You're assessing whether they deserve access to who you've become. Doors that are closed provide protection. Refusal is rerouting. And sometimes, someone believing a falsehood and leaving you is the finest thing that has ever happened to you. The assaults weren't random, as you well know. And you can sense it if you're listening. They're enclosing themselves. Let's discuss our current course of action. I created Destiny Engine for that reason. You may use the patterns it creates to rewire betrayal into transcendence, convert solitude into holy power, and turn their failure into your success. By repurposing the declassified mind technology that programmed rivalry and scarcity to support cooperative intelligence, we're using the dark elite's own weapons against them. The best part is that you don't need to do anything at all. Your foes crumble under the weight of their own falsehoods as your mind gets rewired once you put on the headphones and hit play. I made it for this reason at first. What they did to you is thus fuel for your goal. The group upgrade is in progress. Watch how divine justice accelerates in your life by starting your Destiny engine for only $1 now. The description contains a link. You've been replaced by that terrible individual. A new person was discovered. A new partner, a new buddy, or someone to take up the job you left unfilled. And it's being done just as it was done to you. Love bombing, making promises, giving the impression that you have a close relationship, and making this new person feel unique and selected. However, that poisonous person's inability to help themselves will serve as a wake-up call for this newcomer. The mask will come off. The patterns will recur. The manipulation will come to light. It is a question of when rather than if. And when it happens, this new individual will recall all of the negative things that the toxic person said about you. The similarities will become apparent when such discussions are brought up. And you're aware of what that somebody will do? There will be outreach. Questions will begin to be posed, perhaps not directly to you, but via relationships. Really, who were you? In reality, what took place? Does this tale have more than one side? And without you having to say a word, the truth will surface in ways that will clear your reputation. This is taking place right now. They're connecting dots. We're seeing patterns. Being the common denominator is likely to occur when someone speaks negatively about everyone in their history. It is likely that someone will create adversaries if they have no responsibility and just foes. Being often the villain is likely if someone is consistently the victim. Your destiny was being harmed by that nasty individual, intended as a diversion to keep you tiny. You are kept grounded by a weight, an impediment sent to prevent you from achieving your goals. And it worked for a time. You were impacted by their falsehoods. You were harmed by their trickery. You were hurt by their treachery. Time was spent recuperating from the actions. Recovering from the toxins took energy. The attention was on attempting to figure out what had transpired. That's precisely what was meant to occur. Your moment will be missed since you were meant to be so engrossed in the pandemonium. However, you have been selected. You have a different build. There are unbreakable connections between you and the source. As a result, it became fuel rather than being trapped in chaos. Betrayal improved you rather than destroying you. You improved rather than became resentful. The assault was transformed into activation by you. And all that was tried to be taken away from you is now being multiplied back. They're blowing off the hinges of any door that tries to be closed. Every relationship that has been tried to be tainted is being strengthened and cleansed. You are being presented with every opportunity that has been tried to be prevented. When spiritual warfare backfires, this is what occurs. When weapons created against you fail, this is what occurs. That nasty individual is now experiencing an unforeseen circumstance. Agony. It's the type that comes easily when you live in deceit, not the kind you'd want on anybody. It's not easy to fall asleep. Thoughts are not linear. They can't find peace because they keep seeing memories of you wherever they turn. When people see your name, their stomachs sink. Your chest tightens as your triumph is acknowledged. Something inside of me cracks a bit more as I see you flourish. The contrast is so sharp. Stalled while you're flying, suffering while you're excelling, plummeting while you're shining. Not because you're attempting to harm them. The saddest thing is that they know deep down that they are to blame. Underneath all the falsehoods, they have persuaded themselves. There is knowledge, knowing that mistakes were made, that something genuine was lost, that something lovely was destroyed due to dysfunction and personal insecurity, and that knowledge is consuming one from the inside out. Every day, the difference between you and that poisonous person becomes more apparent. You're developing. They're in a state of stagnation. For them, your healing and pain exist. You're raising the bar. They are trapped. You're drawing in good folks. They are attracted to persons who share their disorder. You're really creating stuff. For them, maintaining a phony existence exists. And people are taking notice. They are drawing comparisons. People are questioning how there was ever a notion that you were the issue. Because there is no uncertainty when light and darkness are placed next to each other. There is a clear distinction when falsehoods are placed next to truth. There is no denying the difference when someone who is performing the job is placed next to someone who is avoiding it. You're now presenting yourself in the world in a new way. You have a different vibe. You have a distinct feel. Your whole demeanor has changed. They no longer carry their disarray with them. It no longer occurs to be burdened by their poison. It is no longer necessary to dim your light to make them feel comfortable. And the alignment, the freedom, and the serenity are evident. In the meanwhile, that poisonous individual is increasingly revealing their actual nature. The mask is irreparably breaking. The facade is breaking down. The performance is unraveling. And it's visible to everybody. Everyone senses it. Everyone is able to feel that something is wrong, that something never was right, or that something is off. All of this has an almost beautiful irony to it. That poisonous individual made a concerted effort to harm your reputation. A lot of effort was put into the campaign against you. Spreading falsehoods took a lot of time, and the results were disastrous. Everything exploded in their faces. It all achieved precisely the reverse of what was planned. You wanted to be seen as harmful by others. Rather, their toxicity is being seen. People want to stay away from you. Rather, people are avoiding them. There was a desire to ruin your reputation. Rather, they caused their own downfall. Wanting was there to keep you apart. Rather, they isolated themselves. Everything that was tried to be done to you ended up happening to them. This humor is amazing. Cosmic justice is this. Since it is impossible to curse the blessed, this is the cosmos displaying its sense of comedy. What is preserved cannot be destroyed. What's covered cannot be harmed. And you are always protected, even when it seemed as if they were losing, even though they felt as though they were winning, even when it seemed that the falsehoods were effective. Let's discuss the lessons you learned from the whole event. Because, some things are lost. Loss of those you believed would always be in your life. Time lost that cannot be recovered. Loss of peace, which needed to be battled for. However, the value of what you received is much more than what you lost. You developed discernment, the capacity to notice red flags before they become deal breakers, the ability to detect deception before it takes hold, and the ability to perceive toxicity before it gets too near. People can now be read in ways that were before impossible. Intentions are now sensed in ways that were before impossible. Self-defense is now possible in ways that were before impossible. You acquire boundaries, real ones, not the ones that are spoken but never upheld. Steel limits are unbreakable, non-negotiable, and not the sort that are constantly compromised. There is now awareness of what will and won't be approved. There is now awareness of what is and is not permitted. There is now a way to know what will and won't be permitted. And it is adhered to. You become more valuable. Profound self-esteem, not the kind that depends on what other people think. Rooted self-worth, not the type that changes with the times. Self-worth that never goes away. Unwavering self-esteem. Now, you realize your worth in a different manner than before. Now, you see your value in a level that wasn't possible before. The act of honoring oneself has changed throughout time. You became free. Freedom from concern about others' opinions. Freedom from a need for approval from others. Freedom from attempting to dictate stories. Freedom from always defending oneself. Freedom from the views of others about you. Freedom from spending your life to please anybody except yourself. The divines, too. What really distinguishes you is this insight. Now, not just because it's excellent, but also because it's been tried and tested. Not just because you are genuine, but also because you have persevered through challenges to your sincerity. Not just because of your honesty, but also because it has been tested and held up. There's another thing going on that you may not yet completely understand. Your energy has turned into a natural filter that draws in the right individuals and drives out the bad ones. The difficult task of screening individuals is no longer necessary since your vibration takes care of it for you. People that are toxic find it difficult to be near you. Those who manipulate you feel vulnerable around your sincerity. Fake individuals see your genuineness as a threat. They can't stand being close to you for an extended period of time. Your energy causes them to become defensive, squirm, and rapidly show themselves. The very fact that you exist is like turning into a truth serum. Either they remove themselves or they rise to your frequency. In either case, you win. In the meanwhile, you attract excellent individuals more than ever. Those who have completed their own job. those who respect genuineness, those who value complexity, those who are mindful of their limits, those who take pride in progress. These folks come across you. These folks stick around. Rather of depleting your life, these individuals enrich it. Now you're creating a whole new circle, not because of past events, convenience, or duty, but because of alignment, reciprocity, respect for one another, and a genuine relationship. This circle is solid too. This is a genuine circle. It is a protective circle. Previously unattainable career options are increasingly becoming available. People who previously wouldn't give you a chance are suddenly contacting you. Previously unthinkable connections are already emerging. Now, money that previously seemed to be trapped is flowing. Now, everything that was blocked during the assault is becoming accessible. The truth is out. This is the operation of divine justice. You don't just have your name cleansed. Restitution is given for the things that were misrepresented. Lies are not simply revealed. You receive back what the falsehoods cost you. Vindication is not a random occurrence. Elevation occurs outside of your pre-attack location. Right now, the universe is giving you the red carpet. Before there's even a knock, doors start opening. Opportunities are coming up before anybody even looks for them. Your enthusiasm speaks for itself, and people who hardly know you are endorsing you. You are in the finest possible position because of your reputation. Your name is opening doors for you without requiring any proof. This is the result of allowing divine timing to operate. When the procedure is trusted. When things happen when you don't push them. When truth is allowed to come to light spontaneously. It's not simply vindication that pays off. Elevation is the reward. Being proved correct isn't the only prize. Being positioned higher is the reward. You used to be more trustworthy. You are more discriminating now. You used to be more frank. The new version of yourself is pickier. You used to be more innocent. You've changed and become wiser. Nothing of value is lost. Everything that was necessary was acquired. And in the ways that the last iteration of you aimed to be, this new one is the actual thing. You're more than good. You know how to set limits. You're kind with wisdom, not simply nice. You're more than simply a lover. You're wise and compassionate. You're more than simply genuine. With protection, you're genuine. Those who have previously known you see the change. Some people adore it. It confuses some people. Some people miss the more vulnerable you were in the past. But there's no turning back. There is no reversion. This progress isn't being compromised for the comfort of anybody. You will always be this version of yourself. And those who are really important. I'm growing to love this version of you more. More respect is being shown for this version of you. Because this version of you is aware of its value, you're starting to value it more. Its energy is protected in this version. This version is unsatisfactory. The light is not dimmed in this version. This version doesn't compromise for the comfort of others. People are now observing your movements, how you seem in places, and how you handle yourself. A confidence that didn't exist before is present. Not conceit or ego, but a profound understanding of your own identity and value. Approval is no longer sought for. People no longer search for approval. There is no longer any attempt to prove anything to anybody. You just live in your truth and allow it to do the talking. It's magnetic energy too. It's a strong energy. There is no denying that energy. When others are around you, they sense it. There's a feeling that something has changed. It occurs to realize that something has changed. Now you're using a different frequency, greater vibration, a more solid base, and a more distinct goal. This is the reason they never understood. It is impossible to curse anything that the divine has blessed. What has been decreed cannot be stopped. It is impossible to destroy what is being safeguarded. Everything was tried. Every attempt to discredit you, every deception, every manipulation, and every attempt to isolate you. And what took place? You are still here, still favored, still blessed, and still on the rise. Like darts against armor, their curses rebounded off you. Like smoke in the sun, their falsehoods vanished. Like sand castles in the flood, their manipulation fell apart. Because there is protection that they cannot understand when they are a chosen one, walking in purpose and really linked to the source. There is backing that is unmatched. There are uncancelable favors. You are authentic. You always were, not because others finally said it. Your identity has not been altered by the falsehoods. Your worth was never lessened by the defamation. Your essence was never impacted by the rumors. You have consistently been true to yourself. Sincere, real, strong, and selected. Other humans catching up to what the divine always knew is the only thing that is altered. Others seeing what was always present. People acknowledging things that didn't need their acknowledgement to be true. And suddenly there is conversation. The word is now being circulated. It's occurring now, informing everyone who would listen. You were correct. You were authentic. It should have been you who was believed. And that poisonous person is listening to it from someplace, hearing how much they were mistaken, how terribly they messed up, and how much they lost when you got lost. And it's awful to be sitting in sorrow, so deep. Consequences do exist, not because you want it to happen to them, because karma exists, because there is such a thing as divine justice. This is your time, your moment of elevation, your moment of vindication. Additionally, anybody who claimed otherwise will never be allowed access to the tables where you dine. You did more than just disprove them. You were correct. You didn't just make it through their falsehoods. You flourished in ways they could never have predicted. Greetings from your rule. Greetings from your empire. Greetings from the life you were destined to lead. The one where the truth wins out. When darkness is revealed by light. Where the chosen ones ascend. The place where haters fall. When justice is served by itself. Where you are triumphant. It was because of remaining clean, not because of fighting nasty. You are authentic. You are always. You will always be. The world is now at last catching up to what your spirit has always known. The murmurs have become into statements. The uncertainties have become into facts. The falsehoods have turned into warnings. And you have turned into the person you were meant to be. Unstoppable. Unquestionable. Not to be forgotten.